It's weird. Sometimes I really have to like psych myself up to record these episodes. What's that about? Oh, it's so difficult to talk about books. I have an annoying neighbor who's always yelling at video games really loud. He's like kind of a racist idiot. He yells all kinds of stuff. I yell back. I could easily get it on film if I wanted to. Anyway. Just trying to get my life all right now. Financially, that can be difficult. I'm not yet like, I was like just barely making it, getting by, and it was getting better, but then what happened? Spring break. Yeah, suddenly a whole week without working and no check for it. That would mess me up. Definitely means I'm living too close to the edge, but I am working on it all. I'm getting my licensure. I can get a full-time teaching job, which pays like $60K in New Mexico sometimes. Like, to me, that will be like wealth. I've never had a job that pays that. I live simply, you know. I get my books from free boxes and used bookstores for the most part. Though I'll definitely be buying more new books. Life is extra surreal right now because I'm like, I need to see a dentist. I'm like experiencing tooth pain. That is no fun. But then sometimes I think, am I a Cenobite? Because pain is always like still interesting to me. I'm like, I'm not enjoying this, but you know, I like a 40-minute guitar solo. It's not always about enjoyment. It's about like intensity, man. That said, I think I prefer the absence of pain to pain. Only controversial, but this movie seems interesting so far. Yeah, you know what's even better than pain? Pleasure. Pleasure is, I know, life's all crazy. But you know, I had a dream one time that Bukowski and Dostoevsky were watching my life with amusement from some other realm. In the dream, they were like literally depicted as like peering down over the edge of a cloud, but I felt like that was symbolic. I was like, I'll take it. It tracks. Those two would be the patron saints of my life. I haven't even read very much Bukowski. In fact, I avoided reading Bukowski because I was like, I don't want to be influenced by Bukowski. Because two things. One, I didn't like his lifestyle, you know. I didn't want to like become an alcoholic because I fell in love with like a myth of this guy who's like a derelict in his life, and I think sometimes abusive toward the women in his life, and you know, just like a real rough, like gutter trash dude for a lot of his life. But also, whenever he talked about writing, I felt like I wanted to challenge the things he was saying. Like, yeah, there's that tooth pain. I can feel it right now. I met this homeless man once, and he was all Rusty Toothache Russell. Because he was experiencing a toothache, so he added toothache to his name. This made me think of him weirdly. He's come up on this channel, too, because he gave me a book he wrote on scraps of trash. It's a pretty amazing book. I typed it up and arranged it. He wanted it to be called Stories, but it was Story '*S. And he's all, because they're my stories. I'm like, that makes no sense. Okay. He and I have very different understandings of possessive apostrophes. I mean, yeah, we should be more descriptivist than prescriptivist, but that one is a real brain bender. I don't know. One nice thing in my life right now is I'm kind of like enjoying my job, which is crazy. You know, quite often work is like a major drag, whatever you do in life. Because it's work, you know. I've had like a lot of gig jobs, I don't know, in pursuit of some quintessential American experience, maybe. Because I'm writing the kind of book I am. This Mike is a microcosm, giant, insane work. That book is nuts. I'm always like, why did I choose to write this kind of book? It's too big of a project. It's so overwhelming. I just came up with a way that I can shorten the Soldat in a chapter that I'm working on now. Maybe I only need one more interview. It would be a bummer. It would be a lesser work. I'm going to keep trying to get all the interviews, but maybe I can whip a version into shape just so I can get the manuscript out there. And I would add it later. Then I might as well just do it. Ugh, freaking maximalism. It means always having to say yes to your big ideas. You have to commit. I always say minimalism is the art of restraint, and maximalism is the art of a lack of restraint. And I think like telling a life story and trying to get across the idea that our lives are really big and contain big stories And like, I think it's a really postmodern work, what I'm doing. I have several videos, a few videos where I am going through it chapter by chapter and kind of describing the project, if anyone is curious. They're all titled Mike's Almost Done Memoir. Though it's really no longer a memoir, it's an autobiography because it's my whole life. But I guess the individual volumes are each memoirs because they're each half a life. Book one's ends at the birth of my daughter when she's born and I'm 25. And book two will end like with the publication of book one and the completion of book two. Like, I want to take it right up to the time of publication. I even want the about the author on the back jacket flap to be like a little sequel about what happens afterward, because I want it to be like this complete work. And I picture it as part of a larger, maybe 3-volume work made over the course of the rest of my life. And, you know, call the second one like Shadows of Birds on the Highway or something like that. No, probably that, honestly. And the third one could just be like a shorter coda toward the end of my life when I'm a doddering old guy, maybe. Just call that one Shadows. That's how I picture it. And that third one, I'd like to have instructions for somebody to add, like, you know, a bit about my death at the end. And like someone who knew me or something. Because I think that would be a really cool literary feat to put your whole life on the page. Thomas Wolfe tried it and almost did it, though he was kind of kept from his task, and he did it in a novelistic way. I'd say Knausgaard did it. Does Proust do it over the 6 volumes? Does he capture his whole life? I bet he does. Gotta read that. Only read half of the first book, which was beautifully written, but like definitely challenging for its slowness. It was like an Otsu movie. But, you know, I've come to see the beauty in Bukowski's work, and I love Dostoevsky. You know, free will may be a small fraction of what we can do in this crazy world. The rest is just super fun determinism. Oh, I love Dostoevsky. When I was delivering rugs as a job, I delivered to this guy who had such a great Bukowski collection. I think he had everything. It was like, whoa. It's probably a bookcase full. It was impressive and beautiful old editions. I was like, yeah. He had a good DVD collection too. He had all the SCTV seasons. I'm like, awesome, man. TBH, I should be friends with that guy. Oh man, I had a funny experience at school today. So I was working the admin desk and they had me go jump in and substitute for a science class in one of the old Manzano classrooms. There was a rotten hole in the ceiling and we joked that one of the students had fallen through it. And I'm like, when he would answer something right, I'd say like, you're pretty smart for a kid that lives in the ceiling. And we all laughed. Anyway, I kind of like my job. The package of books I sent to relatives was returned because I sent it to the wrong apartment address by 1 number. Give me a break. Honestly, to the mailman of that apartment complex, you're probably not the best mailman because you don't know the people that live in your building. You would have noticed, if you were a good mail person, like some of the mail carriers I know, you would have known everybody on your route, all their names. So, somewhere, I'm going to have to resend this. Great. Not saying to who yet. But anyway, at my job, that's cool. Working in the admin building at Manzano, as a long-term sub, I kind of fell into it through like an educational temp route. But you know, when you work with like decent, well-intentioned people and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I can do this. You know, like life's all right when you like can pass the day among like pleasant people. I've been really like, you know, impressed to see that just like everybody that I work with is like really smart, and they all are doing like a million things, and they've all had a bunch of different jobs within the system too, a lot of them, and you know, everyone's interesting. It's cool, and everyone's like well-intentioned. Like I hear the principals call people into their office and they like talk it out with them. Doesn't mean adults aren't sometimes angry at the younger people, or that the security guard team isn't worrisomely right-leaning, but it's just like boomery, I guess. They're like really nice people to talk with everybody. And like people do have like a vision for the school. It's kind of interesting. I've literally heard people mention the taxpayer. I'm like, whoa. It's kind of wild because on a federal level right now, everything that's going on education-wise is not very good. It's like dramatically wild. But, you know, there's a lot of systems in place and people want education. Public education is not going to go away. even if charter schools are chipping away at it. And private schools, of course. And I'm guilty because my kids have ended up in charter and private schools at times. But that's just because I don't want them associating with the poor. I'm just kidding. And we couldn't associate with ourselves. It just ended up that way. Like 2 of my kids were COVID dropouts, and we had to find places in like a panic. Anyway, why am I looking at this bag? Well, I'm going to give some books in here from my kids' book collection to a coworker for her 3-year-old kid. So like 3 years old, you know. So like Grapes of Wrath, Crime and Punishment. This is stuff she can like, you know, read to stimulate mental growth. Just kidding. It's all the board books that don't have duct tape on the spine. And some other series. And 2 books for Not the Kid. This one's awesome and a great template idea. You take the classic artworks of an artist. Here's a guy I never heard of. I don't know anything about Wayne Thiebaud. His name has since come up in art books I've read since this came into my life. I got it because I thought the art was really cool and unique. But the bookmaker took this guy's art and just used it to make a counting book. So it's a counting book with like exceptionally beautiful, visionary painted drawings that capture and distort the real in really cool ways. I tried to get my friend Brendan Killian of Boston to do a book like this with his work because I thought it was so brilliant. And I'm like, dude, I'm like a fan of this artist forever because I read this to my kid. And like some books for babies are like very hipstery. It's like Anna Karenina. Like, but this, my kids actually all like this because they like the pretty pictures. Yeah, I should learn more about Wayne Thiebaud, but yeah, maybe her kid will like this one. You gotta learn how to count. That's like key. When I realize my friends don't know how to count sometimes, I'm like, I do think less of them. Kidding. I don't think less of them. I don't know how to count either. 1, 2, what? What is black and white? The night is black. Snow is white. Cat is black. Okay, this picture is unnecessarily graphic. We didn't need to see that. You know, milk is white. The crow is black. The goose is white. I forgot this one has a twist. The zebra is black and white. And look, you were making it stripes the whole time. That's actually like a fun little form. I'm going to be controversial here and say this is just as good a book as War and Peace. But not for adults, for like babies. But that means all art is subjective. Wait. This series is great and actually funny. All my kids laughed at these. I laughed at these. They're like amusing little stories. And they've got 3 friends that you like. Owl, panda, and sheep. They're great. I tracked these all down because I wanted my kids to have them. They liked them. Okay, check these out. Harold and the Purple Crayon. Yeah, they're all right. No, they're good. And I like the simplicity of the concept and so on. Maybe the brand is tainted a little bit by a recent movie. Actually, I heard it was okay. But this one might be an antique book, Harold's Circus by Crockett Johnson. I just picked it up because I'd heard there were other Harold books, but I'd never really seen them. Crockett Johnson. Oh, wow, this is 1959. Awesome. I don't want it. I just don't have young children in my life right now, and the collection in general has been honed. This was a great little series. I think 2 of my kids learned how to read on these books. They were their first books they ever read. On their own. I know that I Like Stars was my daughter Anodyne's first book ever. In fact, I probably wrote on it. Nope. Thought I would have. But this was like a really cool, simple little series for baby. But like, I Like Stars is by Margaret Wise Brown, who's such an interesting and eccentric figure. And I went to her house in Final Haven, Maine. She died on an ambulance stretcher doing a can to show that she was feeling great. Just lodged a blood clot in her leg and she died. But she was a great larger-than-life figure, and she wrote some beautiful books. The Little Island, The Little Fur Family, Goodnight Moon, what's that one? The Runaway Bunny, The Color Kittens. Color Kittens is kind of trippy, and The Little Fur Family is the best one, and I wish there were more like big editions of it. Sometimes it has a furry cover, but the furry cover ones are so tiny. But I had the joy of seeing 2 or 3 of my kids at least read these when they were little and like be really proud of themselves and be excited. I thought, what a racket, I could write this crap. I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, this part's crazy. You learn about prepositions in this one too. Like, you think the rabbit's just going to hop around the stump? No, it hops on the stump at one point. And this one, it doesn't say anything about global warming, so it's kind of irresponsible. Come on, polar babies. It's just about polar bears playing in the snow. And they're fine at the end. Yeah, stick your hand in the heads in the sand, America. Just kidding. These books are for tiny tots. Rex and Muck. Yeah, this one's great. It really works the, was that the short U sound? It's all about it. If it rhymes with duck or muck, it's in this book, I guarantee you. That's not true. I shouldn't have made that joke. Guess this is the Four Babies series. This is another one I got in its entirety. Because I thought, yeah, I want my kids... Well, because I Had Like Stars was a real family hit. This book, when one of my kids was like pretty young. There's another one now too. Willow. Yeah, so maybe my friend's kid will read these too. Maybe kids nowadays are just like, give me my iPad. I always love Matching Spines too. Oh, there's the toothache again. Hello, old friend. Do we dance the dance of pain again? Yes. Runaway Bunny. You know, this is probably my least favorite of the classic Margaret Wise Brown books, which were illustrated by different people. But Clement Hurd, that was her best illustrator, I think. That's a pretty beautiful cover image. Books about running away. Should children be read books about running away? My mom really disapproved of books about running away for children. I'm like, that's half of fairy tales. Thought it gave kids ideas. When my dad was a kid, a group of ragamuffin ne'er-do-wells that he called gypsies, but that's just like the racism of that time. Because I doubt it was Romani people in L.A. He said it was a band of gypsies. They threw him into a sack, and he kicked and fought his way out and ran home in L.A. He's like, oh, that kind of thing happened back then. But I think all my kids have run away at different times, but it was usually just like not telling us where they were or something. I think Sonora really did once in a legit way. I was really worried about her, and she was just like stomping through the neighborhoods, man. This book has a cute structure. I like the structure of this book. It's like, imagine in black and white, which is economical, just light drawings. And these beautiful paintings form the middle. Okay, this book's great, actually. And she strikes such a beautiful poetic tone. I bet she was awesome, Margaret Wise Brown. She really has like real magic in her books, like just for kids though. And the illustrations do not hurt. Actually, Garth Williams was a great illustrator of her work too. He did Little Fur Family, and that's probably my favorite of hers. It's just a psychedelic mind freak of a kid's book. I wish I had a copy, honestly, to have around. You know, the copy I always read with the kids is that they're in their mom's house now. It's cool. Good books should be in circulation, in families, etc. Oh, spoiler alert. Dude, you should tell us if you're going to flip to the end of the book and just put it right there in the middle of the camera. Some of us were savoring the overall experience. I'm sorry, imaginary hipster. Okay. Yeah, this book's okay. You know what? This is like one of the most successful best-selling books of all time. This is my favorite part right here, this colorful intro. Eric Carle was an advertising person, and his work is turned up in book covers, too, that we've looked at. I forget which TBH. It's too many TBHs for an episode. Sorry. It's like kind of a jangly story. I don't love the structure of this one. I mean, I get it. It's for like kids to chew on while they read it and say blah, 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 blah. But it's like, did I really used to be bothered by the structure? I literally don't care about the structure. It seems fine, actually. I think it was a ragged progression. Ha ha ha. Ugh, grad school has ruined my brain. Grad school plus COVID twice. I'm like an idiot. It's like, yeah. Like, you can't look at a menu. There's an Onion article joking about that. You know, grad student analyzes menu. But I've totally done, like, linguistic style readings of menus and looking at the words. And, like, you can find, like, patterns of colonization in what's on a menu. You can find big stories, you know? Thinking about, like, the distribution of the food and how it all gets there and all that and the larger patterns and so on. Play the song The Big Country by Talking Heads. It's about that kind of a big view. It's a great song. That's one of my favorite Talking Heads songs. I used it for a human geography class presentation one time. Because it's about flyover country, basically. Anyway, one tally I saw said this had sold like 40 million copies. And that was years ago that I saw that. I bet this has sold so much. Because it's a perennial seller. It sells to babies. Oh, look, it's marked up. Good, I didn't give Eric Carle my money. I'm just kidding. I don't care. Eric Carle has some books that are perfect for what they are for their market. And I guess he does have an aesthetic that's like not horrible. I guess I don't love that whole like going from advertising to this, but you got to make money and stuff. I've had all kinds of dumb jobs. People will probably say I came from corporate copywriting, and I'm like, I had that job once. The only salaried job I've ever had. Well, except for like working at a camp. I need to apply my perfection lens to everything and not just be so critical of things. I mean, like, I saw some quote recently. Some ancient Roman guy said, it was in this book. Maybe someday I'll find it. Oh, I just realized I started an anecdote, or just something I was saying in a previous video, but I didn't finish it. I was talking about how, like, I described this ancestor in an essay because I had a list of all her possessions when she died that was recorded in the 1600s. And I like described her with all these objects kind of rotating around her. Like, imagine the world is gone, but just these objects were just around her. You can like picture a sort of avant-garde idea of a life, you know, because we are like planets that live orbited by objects in a way, if you think about it. If you're a weirdo and like to think weird stuff, that's cool. I was going to say my books are like that for me. And if I was ever like represented in an emotionally but not literally true way in a movie, it would be kind of cool to have like a cloud of books around me. I think that's been done in a short film that I found to be saccharine. But it's a good idea. Like, anyway, the quote was something to the effect of like, every book has some good in it. But it was more than that. Like, it made a case a little bit. I don't know about every, but you can get some like knowledge value out of anything. That said, I think destroy bad books. That's fine. We don't have to let everything live. Not everything deserves to last in a book. You know, I feel no guilt in throwing like harmful propaganda books into a recycling bin right away. And I find some glee in that it's a recycling bin and not a trash bin. Even though recycling, while the right thing, is not always as efficient as we hope it would be. I hear people really criticize recycling though. I'm like, what's the alternative? Don't just waste everything? That's stupid. I mean, you know, the process will be continually improving and so on. Or it should. But it's not always what happens. In a People House. This one just seemed good. It's by an early version of Dr. Seuss, or an alternate version of Theo Lessig. Illustrated by Roy McKee, who did some really fun collaboration books with Dr. Seuss, like as Theo Lessig. Another anagram of Theodore Geisel's name, I think. In a People House. This one's okay. I loved this one when I was a little kid. I really like this one. And this might be the same copy I read when I was a little kid. I don't have a deep abiding love for it, and I don't feel a need to hold on to everything. I mean, there's my old baby shoes, but I would sell those things in a second. And it's just a weird anomaly that I still have those. Found them in a box of stuff from my mom, I think. 1979 Nikes. For sale, baby shoes, worn once. In like a photo, I think, by me. Oh, that's a great poem, Ernest Hemingway. 1979. And these are kind of a set. I also had the foot book, but it was all duct taped up, and I don't like to give books like that. Yeah, these books are all right. Teach kids that don't know anything. Real basic stuff. Come on, kids. You don't even know what a tooth is. An eye. You don't know anything. Hair? Come on, you gotta know what hair is. Ears? Just mocking babies. In a word, you're ignorant. Oh, baby. Now, this kid's 3. And, you know, it's good. You actually do need to learn as a kid to take care of your teeth and your eyes and your hair and your ears. You know, why not do it with a book that your kid likes? And you learn what your kids like because it's what they choose at bedtime. But step 1, you got to have them around for them to choose, right? And you try to get the best stuff as a parent so that you don't hate reading it. Like when my kids tried to get into like some schlocky mainstream classroom stuff, you know, I'm sorry, I'll probably name stuff that people liked or whatever. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't want you reading. I don't know. It's fine, I guess. Maybe those books are fine, Junie Jones or whatever. But I have subbed in elementary schools and had to read that crap. And I think it's low quality overall. But I mean, I don't know. I just think teachers are like giving their kids too little credit sometimes with this sort of, dumb stuff. My son was like a super smart little kid, and his teacher was always frustrating by reading him books that were like many grade levels below what my son wanted to read. Like he read like all of Lord of the Rings when he was like 9. He did not like it. I'm like, why did you keep reading it? He was all, just to show you I could, or something like that. Because I wanted to know it. Oh, because he loved the movies. We all love the movies. All the movies are way better. But I'm like, I'm sure you're wrong. It was just challenging for you because you're a young reader. One time my kids did a challenge where they picked a book from every book in the a book in every bookcase in the house, and they were going to read them all. And not one completed it. But they did read some books. We're all excited about books one evening. It was great. When Hagen was only like 10 or so, he read In the Heart of the Sea, and he loved it. Though he's like, I never read a book like that. Nonfiction. People killing each other and eating each other. He started to read the Epic of Gilgamesh when he was really little, but the translation that he was reading made the sex scenes very explicit. And I saw him reading it in the car, and I was like, why don't you wait a little while to read that one? Al Perkins. I think he did The Diggingest Dog, which was a big hit in my childhood and with my kids, which I never loved reading to the kids. I kind of got tired of it. It was fine, I guess. It was good, maybe. I don't know. This is Roy McKee. I think Roy McKee's best one is Snow. That's fun. It's a fun book. I had memorized at one point from reading it to the kids sometimes. iBook. Very different illustrations. Who did this one? Joe Matthew. It's a little creepy. Come, we've made Dr. Seuss books better. We are the children who live in the walls. Wait, what? Eyes. I mean, this is Kubrickian. My eyes, his eyes. Repetition can be really powerful. Kids love it. Pop fans love it. I heard a pop songwriter just say, repeat every line as many times as you can. That's the secret. I'm like, that's such a simplistic and hilarious secret. Get as much as you can out of every word and every sentence. I'm like, that's actually kind of, that's interesting. My favorite repetition in art, I mean, in music, who knows? It's used so much. It's so good. But I love these Navajo prayers I have in this book. They're so incredible. They repeat every line at least once. And that kind of bathtub color, greenish blue. What is that blue? I used to have a green copy. Navajo Mountain and Rainbow Bridge Religion. That's an amazing book. I love this book so much. I've read this book like 4 times. Nonfiction. It can be so powerful, and this is capturing the most amazing, artful, meaningful, place-connected words. This kind of hits home at the moment. Beyond this, hold back the danger from me, so then I will overcome danger. It will be smaller than I am. Beyond it, danger will pass by me. Beyond it, danger has passed by me. Behind it, I will survive. I have survived here. All of us have survived. All of us have survived as a whole. All of us have survived. All of us have survived as a whole. We survived. We survived. We have survived. We have survived. I have survived. I have survived. I have survived for you. I have survived for you. For many more years. For many more years. Ugh. That's some powerful stuff, man. Sorry, we were talking about kids' books, but repetition is a powerful, powerful learning tool. It's the only learning tool, kind of. It's like how you learn stuff. Repetition and absorption. You know? And I wouldn't mind writing every kind of book. I've had an idea for a board book. Now I realize I could make it using digital art. I'll just tell you, I have 2 ideas. One would be a counting book, using things at convenience stores with numbers in their names. And because there's a million, an alphabet book using convenience stores with numbers in their names. Because, like in Albuquerque, there's Circle K, Circle R. I've seen most letters. There's some interesting ones around New Mexico. And then I'd like to do a counting board book for using motels that have numbers in their name, like Motel 6. and Motel 7, Motel 8. And each board book page of my ideas would have one page that was the place with the number and the sign and nothing else, just the number. And then one of something from that place, from that convenience store. And that's where you could have a little irony and fun, like have like moldy fruit and stuff. Shabby this or that. I think that'd be such a hilarious pair of realistic little board books with photos. Now I realize I could totally do that. I do digital art photo editing all the time. But the two things, motels and convenience stores, lend themselves neatly to it with their naming. A couple more. I like all these series by Frank Ash, but I don't think my kids or I have a particular emotional connection to this one, because we really liked Happy Birthday Moon more. That was the big hit in our family. And it's one I read as a kid because it was in a Book of the Month Club book when I was, a kid. Yeah, Bear's just like a moron. He's like the dumbest character in literature. Everything works out for him because he's like the spy who knew too little or something, the man who knew too little, something like that. That kind of a bumbling hero that bumbles their way to success. But he's open-hearted and generous with his friends. And so you love this Bear. He's just a great, great little character. Like in this book, he builds a rocket and then the rocket falls over and he thinks he's landed on another planet. That's actually, that's a pretty good premise for a kid's book. And he's just, so stupid that he just bumbles, he eats some dirt and likes it. No, he eats snow. You sweet moron. Yeah, I gotta say, these pictures are just like excellent. They're really cool. Like, I'd put that on my wall, I suppose. But I try to move away from younger stuff. Like, I feel like corporate America wants to infantilize us all. And I'm wary of it. I mean, like, it's cool if you're into stuff when you're younger. But the way that you remain into it, I think, can really be indicative of, I don't know. I just don't know what to make of, like, things from the past sometimes. Like, what does it mean that I'm working at my old high school? Is there, like, some adolescent thing I still need to work through? Crazy. Did have a stroke as a teenager, so I'm like probably stuck there to some degree. That's why I'm so bad with money, etc. I've let my life get so close to the edge at times. Like, people from my demographic generally aren't supposed to get asked to be in gangs and so on, but I've been asked a couple of times. Like, just close enough to the edge, Reminds me of that heroin addict I met that I talked about in that one other video that got a couple of books for me. It was all Albuquerque's half artists and half criminals. And I'm friends with them both because I'm both. But I'm not a criminal. I just work in the education system, so I see criminal activity all the time. One high school, not the one I'm working at now, one time I heard somebody do a $17,000 drug deal on the phone. And I know what his graffiti tag is because he carved it all over his desk. I know what his name is because I took attendance that day. Then I misplaced it all. There was a lot going on. That same day, I mentioned it to some other teachers who could do something about it if they cared to. If I reported every criminal act I witnessed, I would just be like on the phone all the time. No, that's not entirely true, but I definitely have seen and heard some stuff. For instance, when I was long-term teaching at this middle school in like arguably the roughest part of town, yikes, was that an extra secret season of The Wire. If y'all don't know the show The Wire, it really is excellent. And it's told like a novel with every season focusing on something really different. Haha, look at the book that's making me talk about The Wire. Ha! But in one of the seasons, it cuts away to the middle schools and shows how all these cycles are perpetuating and continuing. Ugh, and you love those kids and you feel this sense of doom for them. It's like Bear. He's eventually going to get trafficked. He's too stupid. Oh, Bear, you need some wits. Oh, these are sweet books. This whole series is good for young people. One more. Oh, this one is beloved. I've always resented this book's flimsiness. I wish we had a nicer copy. But I suppose it's good for one that kids read a whole lot. It's a real simple idea, but it has a twist. And kids love books like this, like The Monster at the End of the Book, or Go Away Big Green Monster by Ed Emberley. That book was a mega hit in my house. And even when my kids had all outgrown it, when I gave it away to an elementary school that I subbed out to their classroom, because the kids all loved it when I read it to them, my daughter Willow was so mad. She's like, "You gave away Go Away Big Green Monster? So you need to go teach Target and get it back."
Way Big Green Monsters, where you tell all the parts of a book where you tell all the parts of a monster's face to go away, and it's a cutout book, and you make the monster go away and come back again and go away. It's not plot rich, but it could be padded out to a feature length film. I'm coming to get you. This is just this alien is coming to Earth. He's got his sights set on this specific kid for some reason. Kind of a Quentin Blake type style. It's fun. He eats planets. He's like Galactus. And then he gets to Earth, and the kid's all afraid and knows the monster's coming, kind of somehow. And then that goes to attack, and you find out it's just a tiny monster. So that's pretty wild. You gotta love it when aliens come to Earth, like in Signs, and don't know basic things about the planet. Like, hey, let's go invade that water planet because that's our one weakness. We should just totally go there and walk around unprotected because it's a planet made of water where everyone drinks water to stay alive. It's like they did no research in that movie. But he was the highest paid screenwriter ever at the time, getting $5 million. So can't knock that. That's pretty impressive. The movie's okay. Crop circles are a great topic for a sci-fi film. Yeah, this is a pretty good one. She'll love reading this one with her kid, I think. I mean, he'll enjoy it. Kids all loved it. And you can, if you're a parent and you're doing a good job with your reading, you let yourself get a little dramatic and get into it and do specific voices that your kids come to love. And, you know, maybe you can improvise parts. Though I once saw Rudolpho and I basically get booed by children for improvising with the Cat in the Hat on the Cat in the Hat's 75th birthday event at this bookstore. The bookstore people had to be like, you can stop. Because the kids were getting so restless. They did not like hearing Cat in the Hat added to and slowed down and stuff. Kind of funny. I'm like, this is like a literary great who's sitting here. You ungrateful kids. I happened to be there with my kid, Anodyne, who was the tiny tot at the time. This is great and has like this great 70s aesthetic. This was like a whole series of books, like a world of books meant to educate the young people with a specific vision. I think they had a name like Sweet Pickles or something. Strawberry Number. Maybe it was just this artist, Richard Hefter. Okay, see, I love stuff like this. Not only does this evoke those classic candies, what are they called? I saw a YouTube video that found the name, but I forget. But it's so beautiful and uniform. It's like pop art. It's great. 1980. Okay, but this is still 70s AF. Written in rhyming couplets. Gertrude Stein would approve. 3 bears, 4 bears through the door, bears. So these are all going to a 3-year-old kid. Get him out of my life. Get him out of my life. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, you know, no, it's kind of, I held on to these. These survived the purge. Don't forget, I had 11,000 books, and then I pared it down to like 3,000. These stayed in at my kids' insistence at the time, but I think they've since realized that they have no interest in this book collection continuing to exist. You know, like, that's not entirely true because some of them they're attached to, and they still, like, I've asked the kids, which ones should I keep? And they're like Summer was like, don't get rid of the Francis the Badger books. I'm like, okay. I'm always like paring down the collection and getting rid of stuff, and this makes a lot of sense for me to not have little board books in the collection. And these are the kinds of things that should be read and appreciated and promote literacy and all the good things. You know, there's like sweet themes to a lot of these too that little humans need to hear. Like parental love, that's very sweet. Wonder at the natural world. A fondness for animals. See also this. Sure, why not? Forces beyond their ken are out there plotting their death. They might prove ineffective. If the children are lucky and go to bed right now. Go to bed. This is cool. I can't believe a little antique snuck into this. Woo! I think people should own antique books. Antique books are cool. And they should be kept alive for as long as they can, you know, and appreciated. I forgot. All right. I feel like I want to also give my coworker these books. I kept talking about this book because she just went to Acoma Pueblo. I'm like, there's this so beautiful book that deals with Acoma. And I have 3 copies of this book for real, so I am going to give that to her, or at least offer it. This, because I have 2 copies, and it's just so good. Also, her family on one side is from Taos Pueblo, and there's like tons about Taos Pueblo in here. Okay, for a white dude to give partly indigenous person a book about the Pueblo Revolt, sure, why not? This is a really good book. David Roberts You know, it might be a white dude, but he's like I don't know his background, honestly. But I think he's a white dude. I read his memoir, and it was great. He was like a mentor to John Krakauer. The world knows John Krakauer because of David Roberts. He was a climbing mentor to him also. I mean, his book was really interesting. And I really appreciate John Krakauer. He changed my life, his books. So I feel like, and David Roberts and I share an obsessive interest in Everett Ruiz. Ruiz, the artist explorer who disappeared in 1934 Utah, the Canyonlands. Roberts wrote this book, Finding Everett Ruiz. He thought he had solved the case. And I have the original issue of National Geographic Explorer where he thought he cracked it. But the FBI came in and did a really messy job investigating, and like, I feel like they contaminated the scene, walked all over stuff, broke stuff, and declared it not a match. But I'm like, I don't know. It's pretty compelling. And it checked out. He followed something someone said at a family reunion about someone having killed a young man with 2 donkeys in a certain area that totally matched his description. My feeling is that he meant to disappear originally, but he was a very reckless person, but he meant to come back because he tended to move cyclically. He got sick of solitude, and then he moved into civilization like San Francisco. And then he'd go back out. Not giving this one, but I think Ruiz initially planned to be out there, and then maybe he was out there for a while and felt like once he found out people were searching for him that he couldn't go back. And then I think he probably was killed from his recklessness or from just trusting people too much. Squirrel will tell you don't trust anyone. No one. Squirrel. Psst, 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 psst. That's a very specific description, but it matches everything I've read and heard from everybody. Because why did he carve Nemo if he wasn't going to disappear? Captain Nemo disappeared under the ocean. He had intent when he left. He literally wrote in his final letters, I'm about to disappear. When people will find me, who knows? But then he went out there like Chris McCandless did later, and John Krakauer points out those parallels in Into the Wild. Then he went out there and, you know, just found himself embroiled in something more difficult. There's some pretty compelling circumstantial evidence here and there, though, that he died in a slot canyon near Lake Powell. And his bones were found. That an angry man, I think, I don't know from what tribe, but Native American, killed him. That's the story that not believing him that he was who he said he was, which was an artist explorer, exulting in life. Good old Everett Ruiz. Yeah, some of my favorite topics and books were in association with that canoe trip. My 6.5-month Lake Powell canoe trip got me into. That's how I got into this. Well, I had also read that Into the Wild chapter, but first read a copy of this at Dangling Rope Marina off Lake Powell. The employee free pile. It was bright green. I had that copy forever when I give it to you. All right, I hope people don't think it's weird when I give them books, but I figure if I do it enough to enough people, then it won't be weird. All right. Ugh, babbling on. Look how cute. Yeah, I don't know. Life, man. Know what I'm saying? Squirrel, are you restless? Do we need to get you a running wheel or something? Start talking about a little outside time sometime. We'll never be able to unring that bell when you're really habituated. Also, what if mean kids hurt you or something? You get hit by a car. Such a cute cat. All right, well, thanks for visiting cutecats.com. I mean, this book-related video. I'll probably look at some more nonfiction next time. And I'm almost done with another book from the paperback case. It's so good. I'm really into it. The Life of Lazarillo de Tormes. His Fortunes and Adversities. It's excellent. From the mid-1500s and influenced Don Quixote. Also really funny and interesting. And I see myself in some characters. Everyone kind of does that with something. It's the first picaresque novel, the first rogues novel. Well, I doubt it, it's the first significant one that declared the form. The picaresque novel, some about a ne'er-do-well. Probably influenced by the Golden Ass of Apollonius, says the introduction, which I have read, of Apuleius. Apuleius. Golden Ass of Apuleius. Sorry, everybody. Translated by Robert Graves. Hey, we've seen that name. Old copy. 1958. This might be the oldest one in the paperback project. Okay, this case that I'm going to read in its entirety. Slowly. This seems old too. So pretty. But this might be the first work of popular fiction to mention Christianity as a monotheistic cult, calls it. Okay, well. Hey, squirrel. All right, what's everyone by? Your tail's sure flicking around a lot. Is that just fun to do? Prisma loves to seek out the least photogenic places. Hello. Well, I gotta eat something. I don't know. I need to finish my book, get a better job, and fix my life in all the ways. I'm working on it. But I literally need to figure it out so the kitties will have a roof and what they need. What if something ever happened to them, What's up, squirrel? Is it better to burn out than to fade away? Why not both? Neil Young with a meme from a commercial. It's from chapter 0 of book 1 of my book. What's up, kitty? What's a lot with all the tail lashing? You all like planning a mutiny or something? Do you still think Squirrel got swapped out with a changeling? Prismo, I think, has a really good imagination, which means she's smart. Like, when she plays games with other cats, she, will get so scared and her tail will puff up. She's like, how could you? All right, this has been a bag of kids' books I'm giving away, and Mike going off about random stuff. Some of it book-related. Not all of it, though. I want my money back. It's not relevant to anything. I just want all the money back I've ever spent. That could be a cool movie, actually. What if you wished for that? And so then you had all the money that you ever spent, but the effects of that money that you spent would never have happened. So the world would be slightly different. It'd be off, but you'd have all this money. And what if never having spent that money completely changed the world? I don't want to write that book, but somebody could. Maybe I'll think about it a little more. Sometimes it's just fun to workshop ideas. For real though, once I was in a gas station, and once in a while I hit it off with the common person. And it's great. And I was talking with somebody behind a register and some other people that were hanging out in this gas station. And I was just thinking about the money I was spending on gas. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if your tank just kept filling up automatically and you didn't understand it, but you didn't want to question it? And everybody in there got into it. And it was suddenly we were in a creative writing class and people were totally imagining it all. Yeah, that would be cool. And I'm everyone has an imagination. You just have to find imagination does have to be exercised. A teacher I worked with in a middle school once had a theory of the imagination that it's like language and walking and basic human things that you have to grow the neural pathways for before you can put any information there. As Noam Chomsky pointed out, if you don't learn language by a certain age, you never will. But this teacher I worked with thought that imagination was the same and that you could spot an adult that had never been taught imagination a mile away. Hard to agree. But I also think most people have some imagination. You just got to find it and draw it out. And that's why you got to not yuck the yums of people that get into trendy stuff, I roll my eyes when I hear Red Nose Day or whatever. Jeez. Then they're out there raising a bunch of money for causes and so on. Ice bucket challenge stuff, whatever, they're doing good. It's kind of imaginative and fun. People do desperately want stuff to break them out of normalcy. They don't want to get hit with balloons full of shaving cream like these TikTok video ads that keep coming up. I'm don't encourage this. I thought pranks like that had gone away because we all have expensive electronics in our pockets now. I thought the era of throwing people in fountains was over. Because I remember a lot of that in the 80s and 90s. You never knew what would happen when you went out with friends. You all might throw each other in fountains. Or a water fight would happen, or you'd all jump in a pond or something together that you weren't expecting to jump into. Now it's hold on, let me get my phone out of my pocket. Put it in my shoes. Maybe that's the price of evolving into a nano cloud of collective intelligences, which probably will happen eventually. Seems like an inevitable sci-fi path for the human mind. This video is too long. I don't want to make videos this long. I'm sorry, everybody. I mean, just watch it in parts, I guess, you know? It's like 2 or 3 videos in. My whole channel is satirical, and I'm making fun of people that like books. I'm just a totally invented persona. Yeah, they would be like that guy. Those book lovers. No, who am I kidding? I love this stuff. Where your treasure is, there your heart is also. Isn't that in the book of Matthew? Oh, I quoted that verse for some reason. Yeah, my books are definitely a treasure. But again, when my apartment caught fire years ago, 11 years ago, according to a recent Facebook update that a friend messaged me about, the only book I saved was the one on my laptop, you know? And my son and a pair of pants. Putting pants on the stairs of your apartment complex is a weird experience. But that's what you do when they're on fire. My channel just became all about destroying all my books so no one else could read them. Why would you do that, Mike? Only I can read your books. Workshopping some stuff here. Different ideas. Which direction the channel will go, you know? But I'll like mulch them and make art with the stuff, you know? The exhibit is subtitled A Serious Look at Confetti because that's what it is. All these books were turned into confetti. And I want us all to think about what that means. Dang, that actually would be a good idea. But I'm not going to destroy all my books. That could totally be pulled off as an epic art piece if you had a platform for it. Destroy a huge book collection and turn it into confetti. But what's it saying? Have a party with it? That might have a negative message if you did that. You dose everyone that walks in with powerful hallucinogenic gases. That's the real hook. All right, I think I need to eat something else. One of those feelings, one of those nights. I realize I haven't eaten all that much today. Then I skipped breakfast. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Thanks for watching. Appreciate seeing you out there. Appreciate your comments. I always get nice comments from people. I appreciate those. It's cool knowing you're all out there. And that there's a world of cool book people that are aware of each other out in the world. Like it. That's neat. I heard gunfire, but it was a dog. Sometimes it is gunfire, but tonight it was a dog. I criticized the very short introduction book covers for being derivative of Rothko, but look at what my own child made. Oh, I like it. And again, nobody has a trademark on bands of color. It does show the impact of Rothko's work, though, that we always think of him when we see such works. That was the last biography I just loved, was this biography I read of Rothko. That's very sad at times. Look for the really big biography of Rothko. I forget who wrote it, but it was excellent. Like Joseph Frank's biography of Dostoevsky, that Rothko one really like analyzed the work too and made it make sense within the context of the creator's life. I need to eat and I need to write. This has been a bunch of kids' books for very young readers that I'm giving away, etc. Thanks for watching, everyone. Prisma will watch from here. It'll take over. I would like to close my blinds completely, but the cats insist on this gap, which I still close late at night, though. Hire me to do some writing if y'all want. michaelfarrellsmith@gmail.com, or hit me up in the comments. Writing, editing. I love to edit. I feel like I've been workshopped so many times and have workshopped so many times I can edit people's work into something. I can see a vision of what something could be and help you get there. Anyway. I'm going to be scrounging for miracles this next one. All right. Of course, you got to kill at least one snake every day. Reverend Howard Finster told me in a dream one night. All right. Well, take care, everybody. Have a good night. Kind of coasting. Sorry, this is an inertial end to this video, but I'm coasting to a stop.